Good evening, this is Mark Hopkins and welcome to Tetrakey TV. This is number 180, so we are 80 to go. Sounds a lot still considering we have less than 3 months, so I think Rob and I need to start pulling up our socks and doubling up a little bit. So I might do 2 or 3 tomorrow. And I was going to talk today, for those who watched last night, I was going to talk about the session I ran today, this afternoon. But I'm going to hold you in suspense for 24 hours and I'm going to talk about something different today, and then I will talk about that tomorrow. I am smiling today. Woof, I am properly smiling. And bizarrely enough, I am smiling on hardly any sleep. And the reason I had no sleep is when I get a chance, I always stay with Rob and his family up in Johannesburg. And his daughter last night, not very well and teething, and putting those two things together is a very, very crying and screaming baby. So anyway, I'm loving the fact my son is 8 anyway. But I woke up, I was buzzing from the moment I woke up. The first thing I did when I woke up is I put Fleetwood Mac on, their greatest hits, and from that I was just bouncing. Coffee, and then I played with Rob's and Kerry's daughter for a bit, and then did some work, did some emails I had to do for the client, and then I jumped on another plane. But even at the airport today, it was, I did a quick video on Instagram, and just when when you're in one of those moods where everything is just flying. I got my shoes shined today and had an awesome conversation with this guy. His name was Moses. He called himself Dr. Moses. He was a doctor of shoe shining. And he talked about his football team, talked about his family, and it was just so cool to chat to someone who lives a very, very different life to me, and just have a conversation with him, and it was just awesome. So, and then jumping on the plane, getting back, and then straight into the client. And again, had a really cool meeting around some future plans for an operating model and a service proposition. And just, I spent quite a lot of time asking just some questions, get the person thinking, not so much around the content of what they were talking about, but the mechanisms they were going about answering some of the fundamental questions that are going to shape the future of the business. And as with most things, I think coming up with ideas is the easiest part most of the time. The hardest part is the judgment you need to influence others or to get others to contribute to an idea. That's the hardest part, and it's something that we really struggle with. And I think we struggle with because we get very protective over our own ideas. We have assumptions around other people and what they were going to do with their ideas. But the ideas were great, but the only way these ideas are going to fly is if there are multiple stakeholders all buying in. But anyway, it was a really cool hour-long conversation, and led to a 2-hour workshop in a couple of weeks' time, which is really exciting. So again, I was buzzing, got to the client, buzzing, awesome conversation, buzzing, downstairs to where I was running the session, sidetrack now, the lunch. Woof, I wonder if my again, I don't know, I'm no scientist, but I wonder if I'm sure your taste buds are affected by your mood. But anyway, the food was amazing, and then I ran this session, and I won't go into too much because I want to share a bit more tomorrow. But it's quite cool. I've had a couple of feedbacks and stuff like that, and it was. Well, I've done a few sessions with these guys, and they said this is one of your best top 5, which is always cool. Another one was some of the most thought-provoking questions that they've ever had. Flippin' scary was another one, which is I took that as a compliment. But it was fascinating. It was a group of sales leaders, sales managers. There were different cultures, different backgrounds, different genders. There are 15 people in the room, and some really, it was an hour and a bit. So that was just cool. And you know, when you're running those things and you can see the engagement, you can see their brains just going, oh my gosh, this is actually asking me some really tough questions around leadership, around the assumptions that I've built into how I do something. And you could see their mental models just being challenged all the time. So that was awesome. And then finished that, and then did more emails, more catch up with the client, and then another very cool phone call with a very senior sales leader around some future plans, and also about how to get individuals to understand where he's coming from, and starting to give him some alternative options to how he engages. So it's very cool. And then that took me to about 5:30, and I quickly have just come back from looking at a house. So that has been my day, and tonight I'm going to reward myself with a couple of hours off. I'm going to meet some friends, and I'm going to challenge myself, because October for me is a dry month. And I'm not a big drinker, but I love a beer, especially with mates. I love gin and tonics. So I'm going to go to the pub tonight, and I'm not going to drink. So that has been, I just wanted to share a day in the life of Mark. There are times independent work, there are group work, there are workshops I've done, there is travel around the country, there is balance, I think, there's integration. I managed to see my son again, which is very, very cool, because I haven't seen him for 4 days. So that was incredible, and got a big hug, a big hug from the boy, which is always cool. And we've got something really exciting to do on Saturday, which I'm very excited about, which I'll tell you about on Monday. I'm a little bit scared, but it's going to be very cool fun. So I just wanted to give you a day in the life of Mark. I'm buzzing, I'm smiling. Oh yeah, I forgot, and also spoke to one of my business partners who's currently, I'm not popular. I spoke to one of my business partners who is currently on honeymoon in Bali. Asked him to do some work. Bit harsh, eh? But it's only going to take him half an hour, so I'm really hoping his wife will not tell me off when she gets back. But it's for her benefit as well. We're building this business. It's very exciting, but I need him to do something for me urgently, because he has the contact. So I don't feel guilty. Do I? Yeah, a little bit anyway. But that is it. As you can see, I've got so much energy today and tonight. I am so excited. I'm so excited by what's happening at the moment in Tetrakey and the other businesses that Rob and I are actively involved in, the conversations that Rob and I are having. I am just buzzing with enthusiasm, and tomorrow's going to be an awesome day. I've got another presentation to do tomorrow, so I'll tell you about that as well. So much to tell you about. But anyway, I'm waffling. Too much energy, too much excitement. Never a bad thing. But I hope you are having as good a day as I've had. I hope you've got as much positivity and energy as I have. So I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn this off, and I'm going to put some music on, and I am going to go and dance round my house. Bye.